Hey folks, sorry about the audio. Welcome to 3D Hangouts, episode 181. My name is Noah Ruiz. I'm a designer here at Adafruit, and joining me every week is Mr. Pedro.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Pedro Ruiz, creative tech here at Adafruit, and every week we come to share 3D printed projects featuring electronics from Adafruit.
Yeah, this is a show we combine 3D printing, data electronics. We try to do this show live. All this and more on, you guessed it, 3D Hangouts. Hello everybody in the chat room. Welcome to the show. We are live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, and Twitch, I believe. Hello everybody. We'll say hi to everybody. Shout outs to everyone in the chat room. Thank you so much for joining us today. Just a quick programming reminder, we do this show live on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That's when we do it. It's still happening. Happy Pi Day to everybody.
Yes, happy Pi Day. Awesome new Pi released.
Yes.
Early in the morning, Phil and Lamar did a stream, so if you haven't gotten a chance to check that out, definitely click on that.
Yeah.
No Pi project this week, unfortunately. Didn't time that properly,
week,
but
yeah. Well, we didn't know. Nobody knew. We don't get told about these things, which is normally the thing. It's been like 3 different Pi releases we've been through, and normally we don't know. Maybe an hour before, but this time it's just kind of like you wake up and like, oh, cool, there's a new Pi.
But we are definitely plotting new projects as soon as they're released. Yeah. So be on the lookout for that. Let's go ahead and take a look at this week's show. What we got coming up?
Yeah, this week's today's coupon code. We have a couple coupon codes today. If you'd like to use this one's VERTER. You get 10% off. We also have the Pi Day coupon code, which is just Pi Day. Same percent off, 10% off your order, which is really nice. Speaking of which, we have some freebie deals. I don't know how we're still doing this, but we're still giving away free stuff, which is great. For $100 or more, you get a free Adafruit Perma Proto half-size breadboard, really high-quality breadboard. And for $200 or more, you get free UPS ground shipping for continental US only. $299 or more, you get all that plus Circuit Playground Express, which is our flagship product. It has a bunch of sensors and LEDs, really great for education and maybe gifting it to a young maker student. So check out adafruit.com/free for all the details on that, on those deals. We also have same-day delivery for the lucky folks in New York City. So there's a couple zip codes we apply, yada yada. We have Adafruit Daily, which is a newsletter, a daily newsletter. So if you're into content and different types of categories like CircuitPython, 3D printing, biohacking, and of course DIY electronics, you can check that out at adafruitdaily.com. It's a standalone site. It's not attached to your account, so you have to subscribe and opt into that. We also have a product-focused one that's more once a week. It's called the new newsletter. adafruit.com/newsletter if you want to opt into that. Shout out to everybody in Discord. We are hanging out in Discord, and if anybody wants to chat with us after the show, we'll be in the Discord chat room. This is where we conduct our CircuitPython meetings and more. You can get project help, you can share your projects, you can chat with all the lovely people that are a part of this community.
A big shout out to the weekly CircuitPython chat meeting that happens on Discord every week.
Yeah, I need a new banner. I guess this is the banner. Yeah, it happens every Monday. You're free to join in on the voice chat if you'd like. We do sort of a round, what is it called? A round table of status updates, state of CircuitPython.
Very good show last week. Definitely recommend checking it out. Yeah. About MIDI audio.
Yeah, we're talking about MIDI audio, which is really fun. So let's go ahead and jump into this week's project. That is the sound of a 3D printer. Yeah, so this week's project, I showed you guys last week, a couple weeks ago. This is a automatic motorized dice roller. So the goal for this project is to allow people with disabilities or people who need assistive tech to be able to roll the dice, to play games. There's all sorts of different games you can play with dice. There's even math activities you can do. So this is a pretty simple circuit. And go ahead and just kind of...
Just waiting for you to...
All right, go ahead. That's what it does.
Yeah. Simple, effective dice roller.
Right. Yeah, so all the parts are 3D printed except for the snow globe. The snow globe is a plastic kind of watertight thing that we got over the winter holidays for our snow globe project. So we actually stocked this thing. So that's really nice. So it has a custom thread here that mates perfectly with this cover here. And this is an interesting design because it's all snap fit pieces, so there's not much screws that hold it together. And another big highlight of the project is I'm starting to make everything switch adapted, which means it has a TRS jack. It's like one of those audio jacks for headphones, but it doesn't do audio. What it does is it's for AT switches. AT switches are especially designed for assistive tech, and they all have a standard monophone connector. So when you plug in an existing AT switch into this, you can actuate it, so you don't need the arcade button. But I wanted an arcade button because it glows and it's really easy to press. And like I was saying, the enclosure is all 3D printed with PLA material, and they're all snap fit. So I have this little notch right here that allows me to kind of pop out the thing. I'm trying to get some focus here, so give me a second. Always have to battle with focusing here. Clicking, I'm still clicking. There we go, hopefully that works. So there's a little notch here, I can pop this out. And this is kind of a good example of just how many snap fit features you can have. So I'm a huge fan of making all my 3D printed enclosures snap fit. So these little indentations here, and then there's these little kind of nubs that protrude from the inside of the lining here. So that's how these work. There's a 3D printed coil here. Obviously it's 3D printed. This is a coil that mates perfectly with this snow globe. So if you're looking to use this snow globe for other projects, you can use this as a reference point. And then there's these little end stops here, this kind of lining here that kind of stops it, so you can't over tighten it, which is nice. Or it won't, you know what I mean? It won't like slip through the whole thing, so it's kind of nice. Let's look a little bit at the insides of how it works. So just to refresh everybody, this is a wheel that was 3D printed in NinjaFlex, which is a rubber type material. So that spins like that, and it just kind of has a hole in the center, and it just gets mounted to the shaft of this DC motor. These are kind of your common 130 size DC motors, and this is just a regular skate ball bearing. It's like a 608 ZZ, I believe. And then for the power supply, I'm using Adafruit's VERTER power boost. Well, it's not a power boost, it's a boost buck. It's a little bit different than the power boost. This takes the 9-volt battery and drops it down to 9 volts and distributes it evenly so that I can power the LED and power the motor. And then the TRS jack is kind of wired in line with the arcade button and the motor, so that it can actuate the motor. And then this is the platter. Well, the thing about the platter is there's actually a piece of velour or velvet. It's like a rough texture. Can't really see it here, but this is what makes the dice roll, because without this texture you just kind of have this slippery surface where the dice wouldn't really kind of roll. So this allows it to roll the dice. Or you could do something where you print perforations here, not perforations,
like fins or something like that.
I don't know,
some
what
sort of
fins,
dividers.
Yeah, that's all I call it too. I don't know what the fins mean, but something that would I don't know, like maybe triangles or something. So you could play with it if you want to redesign it. So there's these little kind of teeth along this idler here. This is what press fits over the ball bearing. So it's stayed in place, or it's held in place like that. And then as the wheel rotates, it spins the platter. You could totally turn this into like a fan or something. I think for like the holidays, it'd be interesting to make an actual snow globe out of this thing, which would be really neat. And some kind of interesting techniques here to do some filament swapping. So this whole frame here is one piece. It just looks like it's two pieces because I changed out the filament right here. This little kind of edge here, this chamfered edge, I just swapped out the filament to make it blue, and it's kind of I didn't think that it would match so well here, because it's like, hey, the button's here, and then this band here kind of says like kind of indicates like, yes, you can also have an auxiliary button connected here. So I don't know, it's kind of a neat little feature there. side switch at the bottom to turn off and on. In order to get the battery out, you do have to do a little bit of disassembly. You just have to I put a notch here for that so that you can get your finger in there, pop this out, and then take out the 9-volt battery if you need to. So that's how I set it up. Yeah. This was an inspired project from the AT Makers group, Bill Binko, who runs the AT Makers. Oh man, I'm just like having trouble here now. let me show you the guide now. There we go. So if you go to learn.adafruit.com, you can see the guide. It's hard to put this together and talk at the same time, but trying. So the overview page just kind of talks about the parts that are used in the project, some requisite guides if you're new to soldering. We got some nice guides for learning how to solder. Colin's Lab has a great episode on soldering, however you'd like to say it. Not too many parts. I just kind of broke them all out. But you can choose whichever parts you want to have in there if you'd like. A little bit of screws just to kind of keep the board in place. And, you know, wires. Wires and tools. It's helpful to have everything listed, just so that you know exactly if there's anything missing, it should be in here. Talking about the circuit diagram, I showed you guys last week this circuit here, which is a bit of a more cheaper circuit. I kind of have two different types here. I have like an easy way to wire it, and then a little bit more cheap, more inexpensive, but it's a little bit more wiring involved. So this first circuit uses the VERTER, which is a buck boost. So it can take up to 12 volts and drop it down to 5 volts so that it doesn't burn out your motor or your LEDs. So that's really nice. It has built-in enable and ground, so you can turn off the voltage regulator. It's got some built-in circuitry for powering your mobile devices as well, so it's a really kind of robust little power supply. So it's pretty cool. The second version of the second circuit, this uses a diode and a resistor instead of VERTER, so it's a little bit less elegant, but definitely a lot more affordable, and it definitely requires a little bit more wiring. As you can see in the breadboard, you kind of have to tie some wires together and kind of splice things here and there. But for the most part, it kind of does the same thing, right? So those are the kind of the two options that I have. On to the 3D printing part. There's a couple pieces here. You can print them in whatever color. I just picked these colors. I thought they were kind of neat. As far as the slice settings go, you know, it'll vary from printer to printer, but this is sort of the settings that I used on the Ultimaker 3D printers that we have in the back here. Things to note is probably just the line width, so tolerances, like to get snap fit features, you kind of need to have equal tolerances for that. So I have the line width listed here along with temperatures and that sort of thing. But you can change it, you know, depending on your setup. The source file for Fusion 360 is free to download, so anybody can take apart the design or remix it. It's parametric as well, so you can come in there and modify it if you want. Yeah. I did a little CAD explosion here of just kind of how the parts fit together. That's kind of fun to put together. That's also in the Fusion 360 source, so you can kind of pull apart the animation if you want to see how that was put together. Just a couple keyframes. 3D printed parts. When I start a project, I like to just kind of model the parts first, meaning the components that are in it. So in this case, I guess the new ones were the snow globe. That's a big one. So I modeled the snow globe with calipers. We don't have tech drawings for it, so I had to painstakingly kind of measure the thread count and the pitch and revolutions and all that. So that's pretty accurate. So if you want to make a project based off of this snow globe, you totally can. It's pretty accurate. I like that. The TRS jack is something I'll be using in future projects. That's an audio jack, but in this case we're using it as a switch, assistive tech switch input. VERTER, that's a new board. I haven't used it really before, so I modeled it. So it has all the precise pinouts and mounting holes. I also have the mini arcade button, the slide switch, the 9-volt battery, and the DC motor. Those are all pretty accurate, I would say, as I printed them out. I printed mounts and stuff for everything, so it's pretty accurate. It's a really good representation of the physical component. And you can take those out of the Fusion 360 source file, so you can kind of export them out if you want. And I'm just kind of slowly growing my library of parts so that I can release those and everybody can download and use them in their designs. I have all the STLs in 3 different places: Thingiverse, Imagine, Pinshape, all the common folk out there. And then one last CAD explosion of showing how the rotation works with the ball bearing and the DC motor and the platter. That's kind of neat. I think that's it for the 3D printing page. Yes. Okay. Real quick, I'll run through kind of the assembly. Wire up. You can add a switch to the VERTER board, so you can turn off the whole circuit. That's always nice to do. Using one of these 9-volt battery clips, which makes it a lot easier to connect to the 9-volt battery. Let's see, the motor. Motor is, the polarity doesn't matter. You can have it be one way or the other, and it'll just rotate in different ways. So that's kind of neat. Talk about the button. The arcade button does need a little bit extra wires. If you want that LED in there, you do have to kind of wire it into one of the 5-volt pins. So I talk about all the proper wire lengths and the kind of the order that you have to install the button and then solder on the wires. So it's really chronological, so it kind of walks through the right steps. And then wiring up the jack. Shout out to Bill Binko of AT Makers. He has a great guide on how to wire up these TRS jacks, so I kind of followed that one, but I have it here as well. Some tips here for bridging the 2 pins, because it's not like a regular stereo audio jack, it's a mono jack, so you have to kind of bridge these 2 pins together. So you can check out the guide on exactly which ones to wire up. Just kind of running through it. And then wiring it in line with the motor so that it can actuate the motor. As far as the assembly goes, most of the things are panel mounted, like the audio jack. So it comes with the little hex nut so that it can be attached there. You see there's like a little notch on that side of the frame so that it has room for the hex nut. So that's nice. The VERTER is installed, so it gets mounted to these standoffs with these kind of short machine screws. I have a little vertical mount thing for the little switch. It's kind of hard to mount a switch, so we have this little vertical mount that you kind of insert it at an angle and just kind of clicks in there and gets held in place. The DC motor just kind of slots into this little grabby thing. It's got nice tolerances. You can still take it out, but it still gets held in there, so it's really nice. So for future projects that maybe use a DC motor, I'll probably do the same type of mounting feature. Everything's snap fit. There's so many snap fits in this design. It's kind of a fun thing. For securing the battery, I kind of opted in for just using mounting tack to keep it down in there. There's a little bit of space in there. It's not too cramped. There's a little bit of breathing room for excess of wire and stuff. But for the most part, it's pretty condensed. Originally, I had this thing like a lot bigger, but I just kept shrinking it and just kind of moving the parts around until I got something that was nice and not so large, which I'm kind of happy with. The motor, the wheel, right? I'm saying I'm printing it in NinjaFlex, which is a rubber type material. It's a TPU based material. It's not hard plastic, it's rubbery. But you could experiment with different materials, maybe even print the materials that aren't 3D printed, maybe print the wheel in PLA and then kind of put something like some sort of skin on the outside. So there's different ways to do it. And then the pieces just kind of snap fit together, which is nice. The bottom also has like a little cover. A lot of little pieces here. Again, for the platter, to make it actually kick up and spin, actually make the dice roll randomly, I'm using a piece of velvet. which is a little paper with a texture, with velvet texture on it, and then I just kind of cut it into the shape of the circle. You could design your own thing, or you could use, I don't know, something else that's grippery. I originally made like a NinjaFlex skin that I put on top of the platter, but I didn't really want to make people to print too much NinjaFlex because it can be a little bit challenging, right? So I figured, let's use some paper, crafty paper. And then everything just kind of press fits, right? Twist the snow globe on, and you got this kind of fun little device. Pedro's 4-year-old really loved it. He came up with different things I didn't think about. I'd been thinking about maybe turning it, like I said, into a snow globe. Maybe putting like a little bit of a blades here so that it kind of pushes air up. And maybe put some, like a mesh here. And then maybe fill it with styrofoam to make a snow globe type thing. That'd be kind of neat. If you look at the numbers, they're definitely turning. Like it's not just spinning. They're definitely being rolled. We're just gonna do this all day.
Yeah. So as you were saying, for holidays coming up again, it would be cool to turn these the bottom part into like some sort of fan, so it would like blow around like some 3D printed snowflakes or something like that.
Yeah,
pretty cool. Or styrofoam or something to blow it around. And then of course you can use this as a trigger for any cosplay thing. You can turn on a light or maybe some of the rotational prop.
Yeah, I think
added.
That's a good idea actually. Something spinning that's glowy, props that spin. From more of like a design standpoint, I'm glad that I have these parts modeled now, so that I can reuse. We can reuse these sketches and these parts for future projects. We will have the snow globe modeled now with the proper coils, the AT jacks, the Verdure board.
Which you forgot to mention.
Yeah, this is a great way to test the AT jack. So this is a regular headphone jack. Since it's stereo, it's not. They look kind of similar, right, to the AT switches. So you can plug in an AT switch if you don't want to use the arcade button. Yep. So if you go to learn.adafruit, you can see the guide for that, and you can download the STLs or the Fusion 360 file.
Or just grab the components to add them to any of your projects you might have in mind.
Yeah.
Comment on these. Yes, these are just 608 bearings. We do have them in the shop. We have a set of 4 of these. And Liz is saying that she didn't realize this was NinjaFlex parts. That's actually one of the best uses for NinjaFlex.
Yeah, it's just the wheel.
You can't really tell that it's NinjaFlex. It's really the characteristics and the abilities of the material. Because
it can press up against the wall and just kind of flex a little bit.
Exactly.
It gives it grip, actual grip. Instead of having 2 hard plastics, you get this. You might need to make like a gear system where the teeth are kind of locked into each other.
Yeah.
But I think that would cause more friction and might put more load on the DC motor. So there's a lot of little things like that I had to think about. Originally, I actually mounted the motor horizontally. So the wheel was like spinning like a traditional wheel. Like think of an RC car, how the DC motor is mounted vertically. I mean horizontally, not up and down vertically. So that was a bit of not a failure, but just a learning point. Was like, okay, let's not do it that way because it caused too much load on the DC motor, and I just couldn't rotate it right.
Yeah, I believe you have on the guide as well the load limit, the weight limit of how much you can.
It's actually in the data sheet for the DC motor.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a load limit. I think 7 or 8 dice, it starts slowing down. So it really comes down to the weight of the dice.
Charles is asking, how well do they work with cubed dice? Try these with cubed dice.
I don't have any cubed dice.
I would imagine it'd be the same since these are being pushed up against the wall, so it's not just stuck on there.
Right.
It's definitely feeling some inertia from the spinning, so it is going to spin it. It's not going to sit there on the same thing.
Right. And real quick, I'll just show you guys what's out there right now. These are actually switch adapted dice roller. This is where we got the idea. They,
oh, hey, look, it's using the
pretty
exact
much
same
the exact
setup.
same setup, but you know, mine's a little bit different. Another kind of a design constraint I had was I really wanted to use something we had in the shop to do the dome, the little plastic dome thing. So I have a snow globe, so I figured I'd use the snow globe. So that's why it doesn't look like that. And you know, they're using one of these AT buttons called like a Big Mac. I think it's called the Big Mac.
And since that worked,
that works really
pretty well.
Yeah. So you can see the velvet. You know, you can pick whatever material. This is probably a little bit more coarse. I'm thinking it's like, you know, that fabric on pool tables. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure what it is. But this thing's like 40 or 60 bucks. Ours costs like, I don't know, 20 or 30 bucks in parts. So it's kind of nice. So that's what's out there right now. It's from this company called Adaptive Tech Solutions. So that's cool. And then this is the actual post. So this is the AT Makers group that's on Facebook. Spearheaded by Bill Binko. And this was kind of the original request. It's like, hey, we would like to make this switch adapted. So Binko had his own kind of thing where it would like rotate and turn the dice. But there's different ways to roll the dice, right? So Brady Fulton, who is a member of AT Makers, he came up with this design, which looks very similar, right? This is actually what inspired me to do it, because I saw this and I was like, dude, I could totally add snap fit features to it and maybe make it so the motor is powered by a VERTER board. So that's sort of the inspiration from it. So shout out to Brady for coming up with that design and sharing it. And he tried to put one together as well. And we kind of collabed back and forth on different things. So that was really fun. And VERTER is a $10 board. It's actually kind of overkill for what we're doing, but it just makes wiring a lot easier. Normally what it's for is for taking like 4 AA's and then smoothing it out so you can power a device like your smartphone. So that's really cool. It doesn't have built-in charging in it, so that's kind of what differs it from Power Boost. So if you've heard about the Power Boost, the Power Boost is more for like taking a 3-volt battery and pumping it up to 5 volts. While VERTER can kind of do both. It can do, it can take 12 volts and drop it down to 5, which is nice. So that's why I'm using it. VERTER, which is the Kuba code. That's why it's the Kuba code, because it's kind of like the heart and soul of the project. It's the VERTER board.
And again, you also show different circuit setup if you don't want to.
Oh yeah, a diode and a resistor will do you fine. It's just, I kind of, when I'm thinking about a project, I really want people to be able to build it without too much time wiring. If you're new to soldering, wiring up a bunch of different components together, it can be a little bit challenging. If you have a board, a central place for all the wires to route into, it just makes it vastly easier. Especially with the pinouts like being really nice. Because you get, you know, a nice PCB with
it's a little bit more friendlier than
and
setting up
plating.
a couple of diodes.
Right. If you're using like a perf board and it doesn't have through-hole plating, that's kind of hard. I'm so spoiled with the perma-protos and stuff.
It's nice comments. People saying that they love that we're implementing AT. Big shout out to AT Makers again for the inspiration. Yes. That was a really cool idea. That could be, again, used in other projects. Right. Lots of nice new components for you guys to play with there. So definitely check those out.
It's so over-engineered, dude. Like I'm just happy with the case design. It's a good example of like just how many pieces can you make that are snap fitted, right? And you throw in some coils in there and you get this kind of really solid build. It's really nice. And I'm kind of happy with the CAD as well. If you take a look at it in Fusion, you can see how it's structured. So all the components are like nicely nested. The timeline is digestible. You can come in there and kind of piece together how it is. I've done so many projects where it's like all over the place and it's hard to come in there and see what's going on. And it's parametric with user parameters, so you can come in there and change things like, let's say you want to change the diameter. You can just hit one value, change that value, and everything kind of adapts with it. So that was a lot of fun experimenting with that workflow. Yeah, I don't have anything else about it other than that. So if you guys have any questions about it, let me know. I worked on this a couple weeks ago now, so Little hard to kind of pull out the main highlights of the project, but I think those are plenty. Yeah. Cool.
There we go.
Yeah, please check out the video if you haven't already. And if you want to pick up anything in the shop, you can use the coupon code VERTER.
Woot. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this week's What Are We Prototyping?
I have to always look around to click because the camera's like right here.
Yeah.
So Pedro's got some interesting things he's been prototyping.
Yeah, so last week I showed you guys a prototype of the super cute Adabot, and I wanted to experiment with using the dual extruded colors with the smaller 0.25 mil print core nozzles on the Ultimaker. And very pleased to say that it did an excellent job of handling all the small detail. There aren't any contamination or oozing around the part, and all the tolerances all worked out, so there was no overlap, no horizontal compensation that needed to be adjusted between the two nozzles. So it did a very excellent job of calibrating both of those nozzles very well. As you can see here, it is a fully compatible Lego Adabot, something that we've been looking forward to making for quite a while now.
Really?
Yeah, the main inspiration for this was a really cool a model that was shown off on, I think, was it Cult 3D?
Yes.
Which was a camera hider for your laptop or your
camera cover. Yeah.
Camera cover, yeah.
For your webcam, because privacy, that's why. So it's basically a 2x4 brick with a slit down the middle of it, so that you can kind of plop it on top of a desktop monitor or your laptop monitor. That way you can kind of hold your Lego pieces, you know, kind of feature them, adorn your bezel with these Lego pieces.
All of the little hands.
Shout out to Kirby, who he's like, oh man, this is great. I just put tape on my thing and just tape them there. So this could be kind of handy. I didn't think about it. Also, shout out to Amy Double D, who's beta testing it, seeing if different tolerances work out with it. Just, you know, making, especially things like the studs and articulating joints. That's quite a bit of work of figuring out exactly what the tolerance is for. So your mileage may vary. Your tolerances may vary.
Your tolerances are definitely going to vary. So all fully editable, sketch-driven, Side Fusion 360, so you can't adjust all those. You have to do quite a bit of adjustment to work on the Ultimakers to get everything to work.
I want to really shout out the 0.2 millimeter nozzles. So when you think about a 3D printer, you think about resolution. Most people think about layer height. And this does have a good layer height. It's like 150 microns, which is 0.15 millimeters.
This is 100 microns.
This is 100 microns. Okay, so this is really, you can't see the layer lines, right?
You have to really look, but you could definitely see it. Let me see if I can
go really, really close. There you go. There's the layer lines. You have to kind of, it's macro vision here to see all the details.
Yeah, you can see it.
So there's a little bit of support material required here and there.
And again, I'm very happy that all of these print as separate pieces, so every bit of the legs, the hands, everything is all interchangeable with regular Lego. So we're going to have Woody and Buzz all chilling with Adabot over here.
Woo! It's funny because Adabot is scaled correctly. It's like a 1-to-1 minifig. So he fits in cars and vehicles and your sort of standard 2x4
Yeah, bricks. We did the all-important vehicle test, and it fits in there.
He's got a head stud.
Yeah, and one of the main things we were worried about putting him in vehicles is because the body was adjusted. A lot of the Legos have like this trapezoid sort of body, but we wanted to make sure we maintain the boxy torso that is on the puppet version of Adabot. So it's super cool. Holds wires as well, which is one of the main things for holding like a charging cable or something over your laptop.
It's fairly solid, so like his handcuffs, I squished on them. I was expecting them to just snap and break off, but they actually have a little bit of...
These will hurt you before you break it. And again, all the little arms all come out, so very impressed with the high precision that we were able to achieve with such a high resolution.
I mean, this is something
and dual color.
I would think an FDM machine couldn't do this. I would think that, form lines all the way. You can't do this with an FDM machine. You totally can with a 0.2 nozzle. Again, that's kind of the hidden secret sauce here, is to have a nozzle that's capable of. When you see this thing printing, it's like it's depositing.
It was
atoms.
very difficult
It's
to
depositing
get time lapse of such a
Look
tiny
at his ears, his little ears.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's worrying me about when I release this. Will people with a 0.4 mil nozzle be able to print these tiny little ears?
Yeah.
They're super sturdy. Like, I've dropped this many a time and they haven't broken. So
yeah,
Kirby
Kirby can. Let's
that.
send this to Kirby and see if his setups can print it. Because I know he's got quite a few different setups.
We have seen people being able to print these parts.
Yeah,
with
we're
the
not the
0.4.
first to do a fully minifig, an articulating one. There's a couple on Thingiverse, right?
Yeah.
And people have been able to make it, yeah? Mm-hmm. Cool. So it prints as a set. It doesn't print fully assembled. So you do have to assemble them.
You do.
But that's because that'll make the cleanest results. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, all the horizontal compensation on that.
It's crazy how...
Excellent.
Remember, it's dual extruded, so you have dual extruded 0.25
But
nozzles.
it works just as well as a non-dual extruded.
You can paint it or something if you like.
Yeah, you can have some steady hands to be able to paint the pupils in the mouth and all that, but definitely doable, super fun project that you can add to your Lego scene. And we'll release this, I believe, the week after, or maybe next week. Just depends.
I think it's next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of got some things up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Kirby's saying he uses a 0.4. Yeah, the
0.4 should work perfectly with this.
Sort of your standard nozzle.
Yeah, it was just us testing out the smaller nozzles.
Mm-hmm.
Get the little pupils in there, print dual extruded, but
yeah, imagine printing it all assembled. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
really tight tolerances there.
Yeah. But super cool little project, fun, and of course the main part of this was.
It was supposed to be the main part, but yeah.
It's supposed to
go and the show.
It's supposed to sync up with the release of AdaBox 07 as
right.
sort of like a spy.
Privacy, security, privacy, spy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
all that stuff. 007.
Very well. Release that next week or the following week, whatever comes up. Did you want to talk about yours or?
I have it written for next week, but this is it's a foot switch. It's my next AT project. We have regular foot switches in the shop, which is like $7.50. Got metal and it's nice and heavy. My goal is to kind of make one with less hardware and a little bit more cheaper. You got a Trinket M0 inside. Just 2 wires. I'm really psyched about that. Mm-hmm. Most of my projects have like a bunch of wires. This is just 2 wires. It's a regular micro switch. And you could put a compression spring if you'd like. There are these dimples. It's kind of like a dimpled hinge. So there's no need for like a metal axle, because that's kind of how this works. There's a giant chunk of metal. Like it's inserted there. It's an axle and that allows you to pivot it. But you kind of don't need that. When you can 3D print stuff, you can do amazing things like overhangs and dimples. So it snap fits like this. And this pivots right there with those pinched hinges there. So you can put this on the floor and use it as a foot switch. I've always wanted to have a foot switch so I could do photography a little bit easier, because a lot of times we'll have both of our hands soldering something together and we need to kind of trigger the camera to take a photo. So what we end up doing is we time it. We'll do like a 10-second timer, wait for the camera to stabilize.
And then at the last second we shake. And
or that falls out of your hand.
Or falls out of your hand, yeah.
Every time. Mm-hmm. So this is using, again, Trinket M0. So that means I have the USB HID library in there. So I plug it in and I can tell it what to do. So I can make it an escape key or a command key or a macro key. Very, very easy to change the code as the code is on here. So is the library. No need to upload code through an IDE. It's really awesome.
And if you've been listening to the CircuitPython chat, media keys are being worked on.
They are. It's going to be for 3.0.
Very exciting
right now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Can't wait for this one for production.
That's right.
Make production a little bit more easier on us.
Yeah, so speaking of CircuitPython, huge shout out to Kattni. She put together the Welcome to CircuitPython guide, and this is the guide that I'm linking to every one of my CircuitPython projects, so that everyone understands like thoroughly what CircuitPython is, how do you use it, what boards ship with it, that sort of thing. And that's another really cool highlight is the trinkets and the M0s, they ship with CircuitPython and the USB HID library. Meaning when you get it from the store and it comes in the mail, you plug in a USB cable, it's ready to go. Yeah. We're finally here. It's pretty awesome and exciting. So I'm happy about that. And if you want to see all of the different guides, the CircuitPython guides, we have a CircuitPython, what is it? Yeah, a CircuitPython category. You can see all the different projects that are using CircuitPython. It should be this one. There it is. So we have a total of 57 guides, lots of different projects. So if you're new to CircuitPython, you want to see how to get started, obviously check out the Welcome to CircuitPython, but you could also look at the tag and see all the different projects that we have. A lovely arrangement of projects that you can do. I actually kind of play with piezo buzzers to make like little beeps and sounds. That'd be really cool. Sweet. So that is there.
That they're predicting a huge mechanical keyboard. Well, our very own Colin Cunningham has released such the guide.
Yeah, it's basically it's like my foot switch, but just one instead, and it's like a different enclosure. And it's using Circuit Playground as well.
So check that out.
Yeah. Okay, next up. Hey, do you guys remember this one? This is Liz Clark's NeoPixel Dialer. I built one. I followed her guide and I put together this version. I just did a little bit of different, I didn't really change that much to it, to be honest. Instead of putting LEDs here, I just put these little colored dots. These are like little indicators, is like which potentiometer does which color. So I have these, we have these like machined, these machine knobs that work with regular potentiometers. So I figured I'd use those. And this is the character display. You can change the brightness of the character display there. I also put a little strip of plastic here to act as a diffuser. So it kind of softens the light a little bit. Our lighting is a little bit, I think I can fix that. Let's see.
A little too bright.
Yeah, it's a little too bright, so I can kind of change that there. There you go, you get a better look of it. Obviously, there's a refresh rate. That's just the way the camera picks it up. But overall, it was a really straightforward build. I think the only kind of comments I have is the USB cutout. If you look at the USB hole, it was a little too small for my cables. And that seems to be like a running thing for myself, is like I always make the hole too small because the micro USB port relative to the connector, it's like it's like a big 2mm offset, so you have this honking hole.
I know, that always stinks.
And it really stinks. That's why I have this giant hole here. Look how big that is. It's like, it doesn't need to be. So one of the things you can do to minimize the hole size is to just bring the board closer to the edge.
Through the wall sometimes. We have to do
through the wall. But what you end up happening is you have the board itself, the PCB, kind of might intersect with the lip that if you're having a snap fit cover.
So you have to compensate for that.
You want to have to cut that lip. You have a cutaway so that it allows the board to kind of fit there. Yeah. So I didn't do that here, but I did find a cable that was a little bit smaller, and that's just fine. I'm just being real critical about the thing, because it hits me all the time too. It's like I never make the hole big enough. But everything else worked well. All the tolerances worked out in my setup. It was a different setup. Like layer, that's always those line widths are different.
It's always line widths, yeah.
But she did a great job on it. She released the Fusion 360 file as well, because I asked for it. But yeah, she didn't know you could share it, but now she knows, and she shared it, thankfully. And you can change any of the sketches, sizes, thickness. I left the thicknesses the same. I think all I did was I added like a fillet to the inner edge here on the inside, just so that it would be a little bit more stronger. But I think that's all I did. Yeah. Everything else worked out really well. Yeah. Yeah.
Super handy for.
Yeah. So now we have this nice tool that when we're working on NeoPixel specific colors, we can really dial in those colors.
Make sure that it matches to whatever prop that we're trying to match for the colors. And then another thing was the NinjaPhil knob that we reused here. We have the model up if you guys want to put one out yourself.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a NinjaPhil knob. It might not have the best quality or whatever. It's just the color.
Oh yeah.
Everything in black always is hard to see the details.
But yeah, very useful tool that I'm using.
I'm always worried. So Liz is saying like it's a nice concept all the tolerances work out across different machines. That's a huge thing. Like it's always like, oh no. So no, it worked out really well. And also you can use your, Kirby saying, just use a Dremel. Dremel out.
Yep,
yes.
you can always use a Dremel.
Yes, that is a good idea.
Unless you need more material. That won't help. But super cool. Oh yeah, you can adjust the contrast and brightness on that with.
Right. That actually tripped me up, dude. When I first wired it, I was like, dude, this isn't working. Oh, what's going on? Because I didn't have this wired in. And by default, the screen's like that. So I was like, oh no, my library's not installed right or something's wrong. So my last result was like, just wire up the potentiometer for brightness. Because I didn't really care about the brightness of the screen. I didn't think I needed it, but you kind of do. Once I wired it up and then I twisted the pot, I was like, that's great. This is all it was.
Tony Mitchell is saying, what about using a USB extender inside that gives you more flexibility?
Oh yeah, that's a great idea too.
We've had to do that before.
USB stuff is another.
Again, a lot of the considerations that we have to look at when building a project is a room and the price increase too, because
that's $1
one of the big
more.
The dollar more is $1 more, and people always want
the less parts. Yeah.
Exactly, less
but
parts.
That's a good idea. We've done it on a couple things. Yeah. But we do have those. We have micro USB breakouts too, so you could make your own micro USB port and just extend it that way too.
Yep.
So you can fit it in really small parts. Basically, like the dock, the Circuit Playground dock that you made.
That's exactly what I had to do.
Exactly how you want to do it. Or put a Qi charging plate. Go wireless. Yeah, it can't do data yet though through the Q, right?
Oh yeah.
Can't do data.
No.
It needs to be plugged in in order for the library to work. I think, right? Yeah.
So if you guys want to build your own,
make
sure that your colors are matching.
Yeah, check out Liz's guide. Really fun project to put together. Get some pots, get some knobs. Check it out.
Cool. Next up is
Make Magazine, Volume 61.
Our store finally got this in. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to check it out.
Naomi Wu, who was on the cover of Make Magazine, Volume 61 for February and March. Very, very cool. The article talks about her story, her backstory, how she got involved with the Shinobit project. Very awesome. Definitely worth a read. I would recommend either subscribing to the Make Magazine or picking it up from your local Barnes & Noble or bookstore so you can support them. That's really cool. And we're also we also stock them in the store. It looks like we have 3 left. Yeah, people are buying them, huh? Can you imagine, like, if Naomi makes it out here to Maker Faire, she'll be signing a whole bunch of these. Awesome. Make It in itself is a great resource. There's a lot of tutorials and projects and sort of step-by-step guides and things like that. Really, really cool.
Another design-oriented one.
Another great resource is this guy over here. We shared this a couple weeks ago. It's called the 3D Printing Handbook. It's a great resource for designers who are not just printing with FDM machines, but also things like jet binding, SLA, DLP printers. So it gives you really, really good information on how the process works and just kind of designing features like minimum wall thicknesses, how to go about supports materials, orientations. It's a wealth of knowledge. Like from what I do, it's like maybe this much of the book. But everything else is like every other type of 3D additive kind of manufacturing. So that's really cool. So we actually liked it so much, and we figured we'd stock it in the store. It's a fairly dense book, high quality pages. Photography is really nice. It's hardcover. So it's $50, but if you use a coupon code, you get like $5 off, so that's kind of neat. And shout out to the 3D Hubs guys who are behind this project. 3D Hubs, yeah. So really good resource.
And then moving on to this week's Community Makes.
Wow, man, we're running through it. Cool.
First, talk about the contest with Pinshape.
Yep. We have a contest that we're sponsoring with Pinshape. Pinshape is a repository site, marketplace for designers, and a great overall place with nice content and stuff. They run a lot of contests, so they partner up with filament manufacturers, printer manufacturers, and come up with these cool contests to let people know that there's an alternative option to places like Thingiverse. So that's really cool. And this game contest is, basically making a prop, designing a prop from your favorite type of video game. They're really encouraging the use of electronics and finishing techniques, so like painting and sanding and post-processing. It's been running for a little bit now. Ends April 7th, so you got 24 days left. There's quite a few entries. The first prize winner gets a Robo 3D printer. Second prize gets a Witbox Go, and third prize gets an Adafruit gift card. Very, very cool. Awesome judges. There's an FAQ and stuff like that, so really easy to enter. So if you're a designer and you're looking to get your work out there and maybe win something, this might be a sweet little thing. Let's check it out. Pinshape.
Yeah, 24 days to go.
Okay, moving on to Community Makes. We have a planter.
This week's time-lapse Tuesday is this really cool Villa planter pot by Chrome, who does a lot of really cool looking, like building city inspired planters for your desktop.
Yeah, these are Venus flytraps.
Yeah, so strolling through, what was it, Lowe's, found some little carnivorous fly traps that were, they're
in good health.
In good health,
when you go there, they're very sad and they're on the last thread of dying.
Mm-hmm. So I was specifically looking for like a nice little plant to actually showcase this cool little planter. You can show it on the overhead. Has this nice little like villa look, little buildings with the steps, printed great. Very nice. We're using the wood filament from ColorFab.
Yeah, so this is printed in wood composite PLA. So it's a wood fibers.
And what I really like about this is that it has the little drainage down here, so you can have extra water on there, absorb back into the peat moss here. So really good design on that. And he has a couple more. If you go over to his Thingiverse page, you can check out all the lovely little designs that are all inspired by this cityscape. Really nice ones, even ones with the ability to attach a little aquarium onto the side there.
I like this fish one.
Little beta fish villa pot plant.
So cool.
And he used wood filament as well, but he went the extra mile and did some staining on them, which looks very, very good.
The quality of that is phenomenal. Yep.
He's using forget what brand it's all listed in there, but really good little way to add theming to your succulents or your indoor desk plants.
Yeah, wood filament's quite interesting material to play with. Obviously, it has an aesthetics property, but it has like a wood feel to it. Smells like wood, feels like wood. You can sand it and stain it, as you were saying.
Stain.
We've done quite a few projects with wood fill. You got Adabot over there. We got props. We made like a wooden sword. There's so many things you can do with wood fill. For a little bit, we were like printing a bunch of things in wood, just for like for the thermal camera. Like I printed it in top just because of the color. It blends really well with that turquoise color. So.
Yeah, Liz is asking if the wood material gets weird, I'm guessing warped, when you add water to it. No, because it is actually a blend of PHA, PLA, and the...
so it's got some toughness to it, right?
Oh, yeah. So...
Will it warp in the sun?
So we have...
direct sunlight? Probably.
This is in the direct sun, like, about 6 hours a day, so I've not seen any warping on it. It feels super strong on it.
But it's in the house. It's inside.
So with the window open.
75 degrees. It's a nice weather outside.
Yeah. So I haven't seen any warpage with all the water that we put on the fly traps are, swamp-based plants, so I always have to keep them always moist and wet. So I haven't seen any of that, especially down here at the drainage. So there hasn't been any warping for that. Another project that we've used these on was the charge cable holder for the Tesla, and it is not a light cable. So it has not bent or warped in the 2 months that we've had it up there. So it does a really good job. It's definitely the PHA that's maintaining that strength to keep it from deforming
Yeah, one of the reasons why we like the Color Fabs blend is it's a little bit more easier to print with. Some of the other brands require slower speed settings, maybe some different retraction settings because it tends to be stringy.
Yeah.
Was there any cleanup for this one?
Just a tad bit. You can kind of see it didn't clean up all the way. It's just a little bit of hairs.
Texture.
Yeah,
it's kind of neat.
Yeah, so this is very easy to remove, but I just left it on there because it wasn't bad.
You're inspiring folks. Like David Smith wants to make a terrarium for his cacti. Liz wants to make some planters for Mother's Day.
Highly recommended doing it in this.
If you're new to the wood stuff,
play around with it. It's nice strength, nice aesthetics, and of course, the finishing techniques really.
But can I be a little bit wary about it? You know, just be like, I've played with some other manufacturers' wood fill, and it's kind of like wet. It feels like it's. Is it Hatchbox? I don't want to say.
No, theirs was pretty good.
Theirs was good. So Hatchbox is good.
No, the one you're thinking of, I don't think they're in business anymore. This was years ago. Yeah, everybody's figured out the
first. Okay, so. Back in the day when wood first came out.
That's nothing you need to worry about anymore. They've all figured out the
formula. Sorry, not to scare you. Not to scare you. So
no,
get some from Hatchbox.
We actually do have some Hatchbox, and it printed very well as well.
Awesome.
I believe that's what I used on the AdaBot Google Voice head, and it did an excellent job of being sanded and stained as well. So,
just be cautious. Don't leave the. I guess don't.
There's not anymore. There isn't any drawbacks to it anymore.
All right, cool.
So definitely check it out if you want to some really good, nice aesthetics to your 3D print projects.
Right, and shout out to Chrome on.
Check out all of those other designs. There's a couple of others I want to print out. Specifically, I think the latest design. Yeah, that one right there looks really cool. The way that it is lifted up.
This one's cool. I also like this one.
Yeah, they're all pretty cool, actually.
Nice. Yeah.
I want to print them all.
Yeah.
Have a nice little cityscape.
Cityscape with plants. Sweet.
Nice little villa of those.
All right. Well, we're out of time, but we're going to run through these real quick. PyGirl Zero build from Thingiverse user CC Solar. Pretty neat. We got a Nefertiti build. I believe that is wood. It is wood filament.
Yeah, I think.
Hey, talk about planters. Nefertiti is a great example.
Click on the fully painted one. They did an excellent job on recreating the colors for that. And if you guys remember, the Nefertiti one was actually printed with hemp filament.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
That's great.
So there's a lot of different wood composite filaments out there.
Yeah, CR10. Yeah, pretty neat. So cool. If you're looking for another planter, why not print out Nefertiti? We remixed her head, by the way. She wasn't originally a planter. We just hollered her out and cleaned up a little bit, reduced the mesh a little bit in Mesh Mixer. iPhone 6 bumper printed in NinjaFlex. That's always nice. Every iPhone comes out, we make a case for it. Shout out to Dave Estelles, who's a common show and teller and contributor to CircuitPython and all around awesome engineer. He's working on Circuit Playground stuff too. So check out David Estelles. He posted a photo of the wire spool holder.
Very nice, super handy,
super cool. And he's working on the CircuitPython or Circuit Playground.
He just launched a 555
guide as well. Yeah, I just wanted to shout out the CircuitPython Circuit
the PCB,
Playground. I forget what he called it. What does he call it? Breadboard biscuit. Yeah, breadboard biscuit. Isn't that cool?
Super cool.
Yeah, and he's working on this really cool cube. What is it called? The portal cube?
Companion
cube. Thank you. Yeah, very awesome. So check him out on Instagram. He posts some great stuff. And there's his guide.
And check a look at the guide just released. Super cool.
Awesome. Second to last one. BMO, Adventure Time. This is BMO, one of our earlier projects in 2014. Someone posted a make. Bizber on Thingiverse posted this. Awesome. Thanks for posting that. He printed on his Prusa i3 with PLA. And it's using the 8x8 LED backpack matrix. That's pretty cool. There's the purple one. That's nice.
I like the purple one.
Yeah.
It's got like the Wario colors.
That's funny. Yeah. And the last one I want to share is from Chris Schmitz. He is making some great progress on his trellis soundboard. So we'll be sharing about that in the blogs. And all the links that we talked about are already in the, well, there will be. Most of them are. I got to add this one. But yeah,
very cool.
That's pretty much the show.
Forget VERTER if you want to get 10% off your order.
Oh, cool.
Works on everything except gift certificates and subscriptions. Expires at 11:59 p.m. tonight. Also tonight, full list of shows.
Yeah, there's some more shows tonight, guys. This isn't it.
If you guys want to show off any of your projects, go ahead and join us on the show and tell.
Yep. Progress, retro tech, all that's fair game.
Yep. We'll be
just
there.
come in the YouTube in the chat room. We try to post invite links everywhere once it's there. And then shortly after that is Ask Engineer with Lamar and Phil. Some big Pi news.
I'm
new
sure
products.
you've seen your feed is probably completely
everybody's
filled
making a Pi
with
3 video. It's great. Yeah.
So hopefully Pi Girl 3 might be coming out this year.
Yeah,
maybe.
We'll see if we can get the. Yeah. Let's see. There's also an opportunity to win some new products as well at the end of the show. They have a little giveaway, so you can tune into that, call in live, and answer some questions. Talk to Lamar. Get a chance to talk to Lamar on the phone. There you go.
And then tomorrow, don't forget to check out
4 p.m. Eastern Time. John Park's workshop is live. I'm hanging out in the chat room there normally, so you can check it out. He's building some awesome stuff.
Yep.
Don't forget, folks, your orders support the lovely people that work at Adafruit that make this big machine keep running.
It's a big machine.
Yeah.
If you guys
look at the assembly line, it's pretty popular.
check out the office. It is a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So thank you
A lot of
all
filming as
for all your orders and supporting this open source company.
Yeah. It's
Cool.
tough time right now, so your support's mean a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some stuff behind the scene that, Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us in the chat room. We do the show every Wednesday at 11 a.m. If you'd like to join us live, I know it's a little hard to join in the mornings and time codes and all that, but you got to pick a time. So that's our time slot.
Thank you all for joining. Again, we'll see you all next week.
Yeah, and don't forget to make a great day.
Thanks, guys.